Without further ado, Ian, welcome.
Thank you. All right. So anyway, just to kind of introduce myself, again, Ian Keir. I serve as an SEO specialist at Dragon Search. Growing up, if anybody's familiar with the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, I would always get this response whenever I would say that my name was Ian. All of a sudden, everybody would just scream my name, and the reaction would be similar to this. So kind of what is an SEO specialist? First of all, it really means at its heart, I'm a data geek. I love data. I love trying to get to the bottom of a problem and essentially then solve that problem with marketing. And a quick fun fact about me, slowly working my way through hiking the 46 Adirondack High Peaks. So when I'm not in the office, you can probably find me outside on a mountaintop. So before I really get into talking about what SEO is and how you can improve your website, I have a couple of questions for everybody. So just to kind of gauge the room and make sure that I'm giving you guys all actionable advice, how many people in here currently have a website? Okay, so about half. Half, 3/4, that is really good. All right, so that'll be a bit of a different tone. So do your customers know that you have a website? Is that something that you advertise? Like, are there placards in your restaurant? Like, do people know that you have a website, or is that more of a surprise? They know? Okay. Do you use email to contact your customers? A few head nods? Okay. And the big question is, do you want to know more about your customers? Pretty obvious. So I'm essentially going to cover all of these points today so that you can get that information on your customers, that you can find out what drives them and how to eventually, end goal being, get more seats in your restaurant. So for this presentation, this idea of SEO tripping, it was kind of a play on words of like going on a road trip. And essentially, like, if you think about SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, we need a roadmap. We need to look at where we've been, where we presently are, and then have that plan of where we're going. And that having that plan and that strategy is going to make you successful in the long run. So yeah, just a standard definition so that we're all on the same page. When we talk about SEO, we're optimizing for search engines, and really the biggest one is going to be Google. Everybody knows Google, uses Google, few people on Yahoo. And we want that content to rank better so that people will actually click on our results and find our websites. And then we also want to make sure that there's that user satisfaction. If somebody lands on your site, we want to make sure that we keep them there and that they don't bounce and leave. So this is going to be a review for most people in the room, but just to hit a couple of statistics about why websites are important. This data was from last year. 50% of small businesses do not have a website, which I was actually quite surprised to learn. 30% citing cost as the biggest deterrent. 83% of adults use smartphones or tablets to look up a restaurant. So I mean, I'm pretty sure, again, if everybody in the room has this, I mean, we all have our smartphones, we all are doing something on it all the time. People are using that to access information about our restaurants. 75% are looking for menus. So if you don't have your menu on your website, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. 55% read reviews. We're not going to really get into the reviews, but I mean, that's something that people look for. And 51% order takeout or delivery directly from the restaurant website. So as Chef Ed was talking about earlier this morning, the ability that you want to make it as easy as possible for people who come into your website to become a customer, to get signed up, to eventually come into the restaurant. You want to take out as many obstacles to that as possible. Ultimately we're people who we like ease, we like convenience. When you're searching on Amazon, you'll notice that after you search for a product, right there in the search listing, you'll see the buy now option. You want to take out any of those possible friction points and make it easier for somebody to become a customer. And yeah, 50% also use rewards or special deals. So one of the major options I've seen for restaurants is they use Squarespace. Squarespace is a website platform, runs about $25 a month, and gives you essentially a drag and drop option for your website. So you're able to, you don't need to have a coding background. All the elements are there. You drag it from like the right hand or the left hand side, you drop it in the middle, you arrange it, and it comes out looking really nice. One of the downsides to Squarespace is ultimately you don't own your data. And this is one of the big things when I talk to people about why they need a website. A lot of small businesses, they just have a Facebook page. But what would happen if Facebook went away tomorrow? I'm sure there are a few people who might remember the precursor to Facebook, which was MySpace. Nobody uses MySpace anymore. I mean, it's a legacy, it's kind of a dinosaur now. So all the people who put that equity into building up a MySpace page, that was then, they were out of luck when Facebook came along and they had to redo that all over again. When you have a website, that is something that you own. You control the messaging, you control how people are accessing that information, and just like with Squarespace, you surrender some of that information. So that's personally why I like option 2, which is WordPress. WordPress is also drag and drop. It's a little bit more technical, but very easy to figure out. From a cost perspective, essentially it's nearly identical. Actually, I think WordPress is a little cheaper on a monthly basis. If you were to spread that, WordPress is a one-time fee for the year versus Squarespace is spread out over several months. But with WordPress, you actually keep all that data, all those files. That's information that you could hand off to somebody who's doing coding. They could make the changes. If WordPress were to go away, you would still own the actual code for your website. Next one I want to touch on is how many people have a Google My Business profile? Everybody, so I'm guessing is everybody familiar with what Google My Business is? Okay, so Google My Business, you can see this entry on the right-hand side. This is that little graph that pops up when you search a local business, and it comes up with their name, comes up with the address, the phone number, hours, and everyone in this room, you all have the opportunity to customize this to look exactly how you want it to. You can also, once you set that listing up, you can go and you can see insights on your profile. So if you're wondering how many people are actually searching for you over the last month, how many people viewed your profile, and the actions, did they click through to your website from your Google My Business profile? Did they, click to call? Did they view the menu? Whatever action that they took from that profile that you set up, you can find that out. If you have a YouTube page, you can see that as well. And most importantly is you can monitor reviews right through one central dashboard. So if you take nothing else out of this, go at the end of the conference, claim your Google My Business profile. It takes 10 minutes to set up, and it can be one of the biggest wins for increasing the visibility of your business. So this is essentially what it looks like when it pulls into search. You'll see the hours, you'll see price point, and then any reviews that people have left, you'll see that down below as well. In addition, what we're starting to see is, again, since we all have those smartphones that we carry around in our pockets, Google knows like when we're in a particular establishment. We have location turned on our phone to give us, step-by-step directions of where we're going. So they actually know when we're visiting a place of business. So what they have started to do is start giving potential customers an idea of when those busy times are. So if it'll actually pull in a little graph on the right-hand side, and it will let potential customers know, is this a busy time? Is this not a busy time? So if they're looking to maybe beat the dinner rush, they might use that information and come in early. And again, this is completely free. This that takes about 10 minutes to set up and is one of the biggest wins that you can have. Yes?
How do people know if you're bidding?
So essentially what it takes is it takes the number of people who have location turned on their phone, and as it starts to see a higher concentration of people in your restaurant at a particular point in time, that's how it calculates whether it's a busy time or not. Yeah, they're incredibly smart with the amount of data that they're collecting and what they're able to do with that data. So finding the right person who can actually work on our sites is one of the biggest barriers, I feel like, to moving forward with this. And we want to make sure it's not going to cost a fortune. My biggest win is contacting your local college. SUNY New Paltz does a great job. They have career fairs for students in the fall and in the spring. And it's a great opportunity to get in touch with college kids who are looking for an internship for the following semester, or looking for a job where you can pay them less than you would somebody who has several years of experience. You get a great site or work done on your site, and they get something to put on your resume. So it's really a win-win situation. Also, most colleges have a internship coordinator, so even if you didn't go to a particular job fair, you could still contact the internship coordinator and see if you can figure out a time that a college student can come in, can work on it as a part of the project, maybe for like a senior thesis, and you get something of value and they get that college credit. There's also sites out there that you can put this out to bid. It's called either Upwork or Freelancer. So if you have a particular project that you want done for your site, you don't have to worry about how am I going to actually find somebody who is going to do this, depending on whether you know people in that space or not. Or the other option is, you can always find someone in the community, maybe somebody who comes into your place of business, and you can set up a barter with them where they can make optimizations and improvements, and in exchange they get, X number of meals free or a certain percentage off. But there's creative ways to do this. So now on to the fun part.
What do you think about Fishbowl or Market Hub?
I haven't really used either. Are both for finding IT or coding professionals?
No, they monitor your websites. So, and they do an email campaign, and Fishbowl is strictly for restaurants, and then Market Hub is for they generalize everything.
Okay.
They'll do like ads on your website, and they'll monitor reviews. Fishbowl do 1, 2, and 5 reviews. Number 1, number 2, or number 5, and then Market Hub will do all the rest.
Okay.
They'll do every single one review that you get, and they monitor across all different websites like Google, TripAdvisor, yada yada yada.
That sounds like the perfect tool. Something that gives you that sense of being able to monitor everything that's going on, alerts you when somebody leaves a review, because, let's face it, we don't always check all the different social profiles that we may have. So if there's a tool that does that, yeah, I would say keep using that.
And then, do you know anything about Marquee?
A little, but
Marquee is the one that goes and monitors to make sure that your content is the same. So it doesn't say like my restaurant is I Go In Restaurant. So it doesn't say I Go In on one site and then I Go In Restaurant on another site and then I Go In Bar on another site. They make sure that it's consistent all the way through.
And that, again, like from a local business standpoint, that consistency is one of the biggest things that we see is missing. You may have one address on one site. It may be slightly different on another, especially if you have 2 locations, the 2 get swapped. So yes, I know there's also another tool called Bright Local, which does the same thing. It monitors all those different places that your business name is and makes sure that they're consistent across the board. So really great question, thank you. So the first part of kind of putting together an SEO strategy is keywords. we want to know how people are actually searching for our site, how they're finding us, and what we can do to get more eyeballs in front of that. So the first easiest way is to use Google Suggest. And that's when you start to type in something into Google, and then it gives you those 5 to 10 results that come up next. I mean, that's all data that you can start to use. Are they looking for directions to your site? Are they looking for price? Are they looking for quality, for reviews, for menu? It starts to give you that information about what do I need to do next. I'm going to run through a different tool than is up here, but there are also tools like Answer the People and the Moz keyword tool. And what each of these does is you put either your site in and it pulls up relevant keywords to your existing site, or in the case of Answer the People, what it does is if you have a particular term, fine dining, what it will do is it will pull in questions that people may ask, like what is fine dining? Where is the nearest fine dining restaurant? How much does fine dining cost? And it makes it easy, rather than you having to sit there and be like, how many different questions might people ask? It does all the work for you and gives you that data, so that way you can then start creating content on your site around those particular questions. Also with your keywords, absolutely, this is the cardinal rule when it comes to SEO for local businesses. You want to reference your local town or city that you're in. This is one of the most important ways that you're going to get found. And then once you have this list of keywords, you want to use them in your content, your URLs, the address for your site, any image, file names, title and meta descriptions, and menus on the site. However, you want to always use keywords in such a way that it doesn't sound artificial. So my favorite tool when it comes to keyword research is a tool called SEMrush. SEMrush is kind of a great one-stop shop when it comes to your website. And for about $99 a month, it gives you can plug in your website name. It'll tell you how many keywords you're currently ranking for. It'll give you competitive information. You'll start to learn who your competitors are and where are those terms where there's more competition, where maybe they rank higher than you do. You can see, you can compare data over time. The other really cool thing about this is they have a feature in here, right down here at the bottom, called projects. Essentially, you connect up to the SEMrush platform data about your site. And what it does is it goes through your site and it'll spit you out an itemized list of fix this on this page, add this on this page, on and on down the board. So rather than having to guess at what do I have to do, let the tool do it for you. The search engines are now able to understand the intent around the questions that are being asked and what's being searched. So we want to write our copy on our sites conversationally. They're able to pick up that if you're talking about, a restaurant, for example, that it could also mean an eatery or a small business. They can understand all those terms and be able to still, rank you in the search engines the same way as if you use the exact phrase that somebody searched for. Google's algorithm is incredible at its ability to understand synonyms and understand really the intent behind what you're searching for. So then once we have those keywords, one of the first places we want to apply them are to our title tags. So let me skip down here. The title tag is what appears either in the top browser window, or if you're in the results pages, that's the very first thing that somebody sees about your site. It's usually around 55 to 56 characters long. That's the amount of space you have before, if you've ever searched and you see part of a name and then you see that ... it's truncating, it's too long. So if you have valuable information that is being truncated, you could potentially be losing out on somebody who views that as a relevant result. So that important information you always want to put at the front, because that way you can guarantee that it's going to be seen. And if you keep it to 55, 56 characters, spaces included, you can decrease the likelihood that it's going to be truncated. And just that you want to describe the page, you want to use, this is the very first impression that somebody has about your business before they've seen your site, they've seen your menu, any pictures. This is like ground zero. So we want to make sure that this is an impression that counts. As always, you want to include the name of your business, and how you put your business's name in, you want to be consistent across the pages of your site. So if you use your full name on the home page, you want to make sure that that's consistent across the rest of the titles. Come on. So this would be an example of a title tag in the search engine result pages. So if we do a search for Poughkeepsie restaurants, there's the artist palette right in town here and melting pot. Anybody from either of these two sites in the house? Okay. Before I said something negative, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to offend somebody. So for the melting pot, you don't really need Poughkeepsie twice. That could be an area that they could use another keyword to describe what their business is. So it says fine dining, but what type of fine dining? If somebody was looking for Italian fine dining, if that's what they do, it says fondue and friends down here. So it could say fondue fine dining rather than Poughkeepsie twice. Or, the artist palette is great because it's not getting truncated like we see up here. But, that's only maybe 20 characters long. So again, there's valuable opportunity to try to explain more about what your business is. So next is meta descriptions. And just for quick point of reference, the meta description is that little description that you see underneath. So these are 156 characters long. And this describes what that content is going to be about. So you have that title that really grabs people. The next, that next 1-2 punch is you want to make sure that you have a strong meta description that's describing what your site is going to be about, what the expectation is. Just that it's the very first thing that somebody is going to see. And you want to make sure that it's interesting. Because if it doesn't satisfy the perceived need for information by the individual who's searching, they're not going to click on it. So we want to make sure that it's valuable, that it's interesting, and that it gets that person, they say, ooh, I'm curious about this place. Click, and they land on your site. So I'd like to thank you guys very much, and let me know if you have any questions.